All right, welcome to the Sweet Talk. Today is Thursday, July 16th, 2020. I am your host, Kim Matina, and I am a Google certified trainer and educator, as well as a Gold product expert for the Google for Education team and a technology teacher. And today I have the pleasure of having on my show Mr. Eric Curts. He really doesn't need any introduction, but I will introduce him in case you are not familiar with Mr. Curts. He is from Ohio. He's been in education for 28 years. He is currently the technology integration specialist at Spark in Canton. And he oversees many training sessions regarding G Suite. He's also a Google trainer, certified trainer, and innovator, and he is a GEG leader for Ohio. And he is an author. And I am so happy to have him on. He is like my mentor, and I really am thankful to have him on my show today. So welcome, Eric.
Well, thank you for having me, and right back at you. We all are better together, and I cannot tell you how much I learned from you and from everybody else in the community. So it is my pleasure to be here with you today. Thank you.
Oh, it's always good to be connected with you on Twitter and Facebook, and just the PLN alone is just powerful, and it's all about paying it forward, and that's basically what you did. You paid it forward with your book, Ctrl Alt Achieve, Rebooting Your Classroom with Creative Google Projects, and I have my copy right here.
Yay.
And I'm really glad that you put all of your intuitive ideas, projects, everything that you had on your blog in a book, because it's all in one spot.
Right. And now it is a little bit of a weird thing. I mean, the first time I try to wrap my brain around, I'm all about, digital tools and digital projects and digital things. And it's like, put it in a book, but it has been an absolute, wonderful thing to do that. I've had, so many people say, no, that's what I want. I want to hold it in my hand because I want to make sure I can just grab it. It's got everything there. When I'm teaching this with my students, when I'm working with it, I want to hold on to the physical thing. And I mean, that's what we think about when we talk about reaching our students anyway, is we try to reach them in as many ways as possible, right? We don't just teach one way, we learn different ways. And so it's a matter of, okay, if you want to go to the blog and read it, that's great. If you want to go to my YouTube channel and watch things, that's fine. If you want to listen to a podcast, that's great. Hey, if you want it on paper, printed, and you can hold it in your hands, you got it. And it'll reach people where they are at and meet them where they are.
This is true. I'm telling you, I have people commenting that they have their own copy as well as myself, because I do feel that having the printed version is much easier because it's accessible easier,
sure,
when you need it. So I could just grab it and I have it. I don't have to dig for it on a website and look for it.
Right.
So I've been following you for many, many years, and I know that you have a lot of these lessons on your blog.
Yes.
And I did incorporate them years ago, and I still do, to a point, but my version of it, you know what I mean? Everybody takes their idea
right,
and they take it.
Oh, trust me, I don't know that I had an original idea myself. I'm sure everything in here was something I saw, I heard, and I was, putting my twist on it. That's the beauty of it. And I love it that way. I do get emails from people saying, hey, can I use your project for this or that? And the answer is always yes. I mean, that's what it's about. It's freely available to use and modify and make it your own, because that just ends up reaching more kids with a neat twist on something that I didn't think about. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what I love about the book, Eric, really, you have it sectioned off. So you have one section for Google Docs, one section for slides, one section for drawings, one section for sheets.
Yes.
And I think it's organized well. It has so many ideas in here. There's so many practical ways of using it, and targeting really all students and really all classes. Like, for example, for your Google Docs section, I like the emoji writing.
Absolutely.
Assignment.
Yes.
That you have in here. So you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great one. Some times folks may not realize that Google Docs does support emojis. Actually, all the Google products do support emojis. They're just text. They're just fancy text, but they're hidden away in the special characters menu. So, we might not have realized they were there. But what a neat way to engage students. And so I include a lot of stuff in there, like doing rebus stories where you're combining regular text with pictures. So whether it's a student who's writing a story because maybe they don't know how to spell all the words, but they can use pictures in there. Or if it's an older student writing stories for younger students where they're creating the rebus stories for them. But then emojis can be used other ways as well, whether you're summarizing, trying to take a big concept, to summarize the story and tell it with emojis. I was a math teacher before doing technology, and I think emojis are fantastic for helping students with variables. So if you're trying to teach them variables, we're trying to go from concrete to abstract, and they may not understand 2x plus 3y, but if it's 2 chickens plus 3 pigs, and it's stuff like that, and you make it concrete, they can wrap their brain around that, and then we can slowly start, taking the emojis away and putting letters in place and things like that. So it's a great way to model math lessons. Character emotions is another big one. I've got a template in there for that as well. So yeah, what a fun way to make these projects more engaging by using emojis.
Exactly. And I do like the emojis, and you had an example in here for sheets. It was for the pictograph.
Yeah. So yeah, emojis could also be used for pictographs, because that is one of the things that elementary students do need to do when you're talking about creating charts and graphs. So a pictograph being one where it's like a bar chart, but basically each level is a picture, put on top of each other. And emojis lend themselves very well to that. You could use that to build your pictograph from whatever survey has been done in class. You're collecting information and then using that to create your graph. Yeah.
Yeah, I you know what? I think we all connect to emojis, especially students, right? Because, they can help the struggler learners, as one person, Elizabeth, had said in the chat, or struggling writers. Emojis can express different, meanings in students' writing. They can connect to it. And I think it's a cue, right? Especially, I know you give a lot of PD on struggling or students with special needs.
Yes.
And cueing those students is so important, and we can use emojis for that.
Love it. Absolutely. And the emojis do show up a couple other places in the book as well. In the section on using Google Sheets, also talk about using the random feature in Google Sheet, the random function, to randomly generate writing prompts. And I've got one template that uses emojis as an example. It creates emoji writing prompts where you'll get 2, 3, 4, or 5 emojis, and you can just keep refreshing it. And Google Sheets random feature will give you 3 more emojis until you find a set of, oh, that would be an awesome story. I'm going to write a story about these 3 things. And then that's used to inspire the students. So yeah, the emojis definitely do a lot of activities throughout the book. Yeah.
And I love that. Okay, so now I'm going to that page. So that was on page 106. All right. And I was reading that, and I loved how in the book you explain the lesson of what you just did with your template. But then you also gave a little background information on how you coded that or used the formula in Google Sheets. So if you are a more advanced user in Sheets, you can take that formula and you can, digest it or whatever and try to replicate it or make it your own. So you do differentiate it to a certain degree.
That's right.
I found that to be very interesting. And you call it like the nerdy stuff, the nerdy section in the book.
and it depends. I mean, I guess
that's a good thing.
It is. It's a good. I wear the nerd badge with pride.
I do too.
And I've done trainings where I've shared about the emoji generator, and people are like, that's wonderful. They want to get a copy of the template and run with it. I've done trainings where they're like, how'd you do that? And some people really want to know. And so we go, okay. And so we dissect the formula because they want to make their own. They want to make a twist on that. They want to do something with it. I go, okay, let's take the formula and break it apart and show what each piece is doing. And then you can just modify it and do whatever you want with it.
I totally agree. I think, because I wouldn't have thought of that, but because you have your idea and then you explain the formula, I'm like, okay, well, now maybe I can kind of tweak it and make it my own. So it does give the opportunity for people to do that because you do explain the nerdy stuff behind it.
That's right.
Which I thought that was interesting. I'm glad that you did that. And I do love the, we're going to talk about Google Drawings because I know, Google Drawings, I just did a show on it with Carol Nelson on Monday. And we did feel that people don't really utilize Google Drawings to the extent that it's, to the extent that it can. And you have a whole section dedicated in your book just about Google Drawings. And I know you have so many templates that you created for teachers and students to borrow on some of your graphs. Why don't you talk a little bit about that, your Google Drawings section?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I would agree. I think Google Drawings is a little lesser known, usually because it's hidden away in Drive. I mean, if you go to to create something new in Google Drive, you see docs, sheets, and slides. You have to go down to more to find Google Drawings. And so sometimes maybe people just don't realize it's there. For those that aren't as familiar with it, I usually like to describe it as Google Slides if you just had one slide. So it's like a single slide because it's got pretty much the same tools that Google Slides has to insert images and charts and graphs and lines and text boxes and shapes and word art and things like that. But you're just working on a single canvas. And so all the projects in Google Drawings could be applied to Google Slides, but sometimes it makes more sense just to work on a single canvas. You don't need all the other things. And so the type of stuff that we end up covering in the book, lots of different things to talk about: creating memes with Google Drawings, talk about using it for desktop publishing, whether it's posters or greeting cards. We talk about using it to do those composition images where a student will take a picture of themselves, then use something like the background removal sites to cut themselves out of the picture. And then they'll do a composite. Well, they'll put a background into drawings and they'll add themselves onto that background. And then they'll put a speech bubble from the shapes menu where they then talk about where they're at. So maybe they're describing something historical or a different country, or they're talking about something from a story. We had a lot of math activities also in the book on Google Drawings because it lends itself really well to congruent shapes, or breaking things down into parts of a whole, or pattern blocks, algebra tiles. So many things mathematically can be represented with the shapes and the features that we have in Google Drawings. Other fun things. There's a great tool called ThingLink, which I definitely think is a great tool, but it does have a free and a paid version, and some people can't afford the paid version. So I said, could Google Drawings could it replicate a ThingLink? And so we do the Google link in the book, where basically you take a Google drawing and you put a diagram. Maybe it's a picture of an insect, and you want to diagram the different parts of it, or maybe it's parts of a flower, or maybe it's a map, whatever it is. You can put that image into Google Drawings, and then you can annotate on top of it. You can put icons on top of it, or you can put hot spots by just putting like circles or squares that you can make transparent. But the thing is, anything you put on top of the image, you can then hyperlink. And so when you're done, you've got basically an interactive poster. So here's the one I did in the book, was parts of a flower. So you've got this diagram of a flower, but then you can click on any of the different little hotspots you put on it, and it will open up a video, or it'll open up a website, or it'll open up a Google document where you wrote a report about it, so that it becomes not just an infographic, but a clickable interactive one that jumps out to additional resources. So those are just a couple of the examples in there where using Google Drawings might be the right tool to match those different projects.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think using the Google link idea is great. I've used it many times, and the kids, all of a sudden the lesson comes alive, right? And it becomes interactive, and they're engaged. So and it's free, right? So you're using your own resources, and you're making it your own. So you don't have to pay for a subscription to that thing link as well. But yeah, and then you did create a bunch of templates, didn't you? I remember years ago,
especially for graphic organizers, because Google Drawings really lends itself so well to graphic organizers, whether it's a student reading a story and then breaking down, the character map, or whether you're doing a compare and contrast activity as a full class, maybe where everybody's brainstorming, comparing and contrasting these two concepts, or whether it's Venn diagrams or a Freyer model where you're taking a vocab word and really looking at, examples and non-examples and what you know about it, and a definition in your own words. And so I did create quite a few, 30, 40 or so graphic organizers.
I remember it was a lot.
Just to kind of prime the pump there and show people, here's an example. They're just shapes, and they're text boxes.
Shapes and text boxes, right?
Boxes and some arrows. But the idea was, here's a bunch to show you what you can do. Now run with it and have kids make their own. You can make your own. But yes, I did try to do a wide range of them so that people could see the variety of what you could create with Google Drawings as far as graphic organizer templates go. And people are certainly, more than welcome to use those, make copies of them, modify them, or be inspired to create their own based on that.
Yeah, Elizabeth in the chat said the Google link is such a great idea. She can't wait to try it out. Definitely, highly recommend it. It's definitely a great way to engage the kids. And if it's not engaging, they'll let you know, and then you can, make improvements or change it or whatnot for the next class. And I do like that Eric had mentioned about creating not memes, but taking your picture or taking the student's picture, capturing it with their device, and then putting it into the drawing, and then put in some type of background behind it, and then have the kids. So in the book, you have a picture of yourself, and it looks like you're going to war with the knights in the book. All right, so but that's an interpretation. So you can have the kids interpret that, and now it becomes a writing assignment. So, or writing prompt or something like that. So, or a journal entry, right?
Anytime a student can put themselves into a project, it's so much more engaging. Let them put themselves into a historical photo, or let them put themselves into the story, or let them put themselves into this picture from a different city, a different country, and then explain what their experience is there. That's so exciting to include themselves in it. Very, very, very motivating. It makes it more personal. Yeah.
Yes, I totally agree. Now, I'm going to ask you this, Eric, and I know you mentioned, that Google Slides has a lot of the tools or the capability of Google Drawings. You did mention that Google Drawings just uses like one piece of paper or one canvas as opposed to Slides where you have multiple. But when you're creating the content, what would make you use Google Drawings as opposed to Slides, since they both have the same tools available? What would make you go to Drawings or Slides? I want to, because I posed that question to my guest that was on, and we both agreed. But I want to hear your opinion before I say what I said.
Yeah, I mean, my general answer to that is, you use what you need to use to get the job done. And so there's no need for me to go into Google Slides if I know my end result is going to be a single item. So like if I'm creating a graphic, and I use Google Drawings for loads of graphics, things that I put on my website, I use that to create, graphics that then I download and add onto the website. So for me, it's more a matter of, okay, if what I'm creating is a graphic organizer, and it's a single page that I'm going to be filling in, or I'm making the interactive Google link. If it's just one thing, a drawing is definitely going to suffice that. There's no harm in doing it in Google Slides. It's not going to hurt anything, but it's just more than needs to be used, which could be distracting, perhaps, maybe, could be confusing, perhaps, if a student, wasn't sure how to make the best use of it. So that's my normal answer is, start at the end. What's the end result? What are you trying to accomplish? And then what's the tool that makes the most sense to get you there? And then if it's a one product that you're making in the end, then drawings is great. If you're needing something with multiple pages, slides is going to be your choice.
Yeah. So I was having this discussion with Carol Nelson on Monday because her show was all about drawings, and I asked her the same question. And basically, we both did agree that I think it's a mindset, right? So like you were saying, like start with your end result, right? And figure out what that is and then go to that tool, basically. We were saying basically the same thing. When I'm in drawings, I'm actually creating some type of image or graphic, like you said, a meme or whatnot, or a header banner or something. When I'm in slides, I'm in a totally different mindset, right? I'm trying to present content, which is not, I don't want to say not graphic, but, or doesn't use images, because that's not true. But my mindset is different, where I'm trying to lay out maybe like a sequence of sequential order of, concepts to students, things like that. So like that's kind of like the shift of what we were saying. It's like a mindset of what you're trying to put out for your students or put out for yourself. So
right.
And I just wanted to hear what you had to say about it, because we were talking about it the other day, and we're talking about it now. And I've people have asked me about that, and it's just nice to hear what other professionals have to say about that, because it's a common question that I get. So glad that you were able to answer that. I didn't have any doubt about it.
You bet.
But you know what, Eric, I told you before the show, and well, I'm going to hold off on that. And Eric's book, I just want to point out, it's all G Suite, right? So it's all about Google Docs, slides, drawings, and sheets, and how you can integrate and align lessons within the G Suite. And this actually will work well with virtual learning or remote learning, because everything's accessible online. So, his book really gives a lot of information, a lot of ideas on different ways that you can do reading comprehension with your students, math, like he was saying, visual representation of concepts with graphic organizers, and sheets with budgets and things like that. I mean, I love the book. I think they did a really great job. You did a great job organizing it.
Got to give a lot of props to Dave Burgess with the graphic design for the book. I mean, I may have created the content, but their ability to get it laid out so nicely and to make it so accessible and so attractive. I'm so thrilled with the
I mean, it's nicely organized. I was really impressed with that. They did a really good job at it. Now I'm going to put you on the spot.
Oh, that's fine. No problem.
Are you ready?
Yes.
I was reading this book while I was recovering. Well, I'm still recovering from surgery, but couple weeks ago I was reading it, and I highlighted on page 23. I highlighted 2 paragraphs.
Okay.
And I'd like to read it if you don't mind.
Please.
Okay. So on page 23, you wrote, "Years ago, when I served as one of the leaders at Google Teacher Academy, we were not called leaders. Instead, we were called lead learners. I love that mindset. We should always hope to learn something new, even when we are the ones leading professional development. I would go so far as to say that if you are not learning, you really are not engaging your audience, but are just on autopilot given a lecture. If you want your audience, your teachers and your students or whoever, to learn, you need to model an attitude of learning And you can't learn something unless you admit there are things you do not know. And that caught me. And I want to tell you why. Because you are a human being. This shows how authentic you are. And I give you a lot of respect because you printed that. And I do want to say that I totally agree with you. And that's why I feel that my platform with the Sweet Talk is paying it forward, because I'm connecting with you. We're having a conversation, we're learning, we're sharing, and then we're helping others. And I think that if you don't continue to learn, you're not at your best, you're not at your top game, and you're not helping anybody. And those two paragraphs really showed me the human being that you really are, just a true, genuine person that is passionate about the teaching and the students. And that's what it's all about, is paying it forward. So I want to really thank you for printing that, because I just felt like that was honest, and that you really, that showed a lot of your personality to me.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm glad that resonated with you, and I know it did, because you are the same kind of person as me. We see that the same way. I would believe and encourage most all teachers and educators to have that kind of a mindset that we can't know everything, especially with technology. It's constantly changing. It's constantly moving. And we can stress ourselves out by thinking we have to have the answer to everything. And hey, I'm the one up on stage, or I'm the one, who's teaching, and I have to know all the answers. And if I don't, they're going to think I'm a fraud, and they're going to be like, why'd we hire him? And it's like, no, it's impossible to know everything. What's more important than just teaching the buttons is teaching what to do when you don't know the answer, modeling what it means to poke a stick at it, to figure stuff out, to say, hey, I don't know, let's figure that out. And I think teachers can be afraid, and I get that, can be afraid to say, well, I don't know, do I really want to try this new project with my students? I haven't mastered drawings, I haven't mastered slides. What if something goes wrong? It's okay. Do your best, get familiar with something, but it's okay not to know all of it. It's okay to try a project with your students and let them figure things out, and let the students teach you and learn from them, because you are modeling what you want the kids to do. You're modeling being a problem solver, being a lifelong learner, showing them a real life example of that, rather than trying to give them this image that you are perfect and you know everything, and that you're going to reach some stage where you learn no more. Oh my goodness. Rest of my life, I expect to learn something new every day of my life and keep growing.
I feel the same way. And Bruce, my friend Bruce, is watching, and he had mentioned in the chat that you are both authentic, and it comes through to the viewers and educators you train. And it's okay to say, I don't know, but I will find out. So I appreciate those comments, Bruce. But it's the truth. I mean, I just feel like we need to model that behavior as well to the students, so that when they are ready to go out in the real world, they should be able to determine, hey, it's okay, I don't know this, let me look it up, let me find out, let me use my resources and try to figure out what the answer is. You always have to show your students that you're learning, and that you don't know everything. I always say, Eric, I'm not an expert, because if I called myself an expert, that's when I stopped learning. Sure. And we're all in this together, so we're all trying to help each other. But those two paragraphs really just made me really sat well with me, because I'm like, yeah, that's my man.
That's right. No, that's fantastic.
So I really do want to appreciate, and I think another thing too is that you're just so you're genuine, you're modest, and all of your ideas that you presented in the book they're not difficult, and it targets an audience where they're going to feel successful when they try this out. So
Yes.
I think that's also important to note as well, because you keep it simple, and it's important to do that when you're training educators or teachers or whatnot.
Right. Well, that is
So
great.
thank
I'm
you,
so
Eric.
excited. Thank you. And I'm so excited to hear what people do with these. And I always do encourage folks, if you do try out one of these projects, and if you think about it and you're willing to send me a tweet or an email with an example of what your students created, that brings so much joy to my heart. When I'm on Twitter and I'm looking, and then somebody says, hey, students created XYZ today. Thanks for the idea, Eric, or something. And I see that lets me know, a child has gone home that day from school, or at home they've been doing something exciting. There's a kid somewhere out there whose day was made better because of something that I was able to share, and that's really encouraging. That gives us a little more gas in the tank and really helps us.
Yeah, exactly. So why don't you tell people about your website, like what your website, how they can get connect with you and everything?
Absolutely. So everything is control-alt-achieve.com. So obviously a play on Control-Alt-Delete. The idea of we use that to reboot our computers. Well, Control-Alt-Achieve, we're rebooting our classrooms. We're saying, hey, we're stuck in a rut, or things aren't working well, or things aren't going great. Hey, have you tried turning it off and back on again? Sure, let's do that. Let's Control-Alt-Achieve our classrooms. So if you go to Control-Alt-Achieve.com, you'll find the website, and from there you can find everything. There's hundreds and hundreds of blog posts there. There's a resources tab with resources collected by topic. There's a podcast tab. There's a webinars tab with lots of video trainings I've done over the years. There's a tab for the book, which you can get all the information for the book there with links to Amazon and so forth. And then, of course, my YouTube videos, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, all those different ways to connect with me. All of that shows up on the site as well. And if people really want to get to know the Eric, who's not just the techie guy, there's also a link on the site to my side blog called Eric the Rad, where I write about well-being, emotional health, mental health, life things in general. And so they all have a little bit of a nerdy twist to them, but it's not my technology blog, so I do keep it separate. It deals a lot with life and things like that. And so if you really want to peek behind the curtain and see what's going on in my brain, you can get to that site as well. So Control-Alt-Achieve.com, easy place to start to get to everything else.
And Eric, I do have to say, and I don't remember when it was, I didn't look this up, that you were on my show, I want to say a couple months ago, and we talked about digital well-being and having that balance, and balance in technology and using different tools to help prevent teacher burnout, or just burnout in general. So that episode is on my episode page on the Sweet Talk. If you want to watch that episode, I will share my screen and try to find it in my list. But I do want to thank everyone who was watching today. Bruce and Elizabeth, thank you for all of your comments. Bruce had said that he has his students show him new things all the time. And Elizabeth says that she loves to learn from her students, and she learns about herself as well when the students teach her things. So she says, thank you so much for being there for us. So, it's just another way of people saying, hey, thank you. We appreciate you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen, and I will try to find that past episode. So if you'd like to visit my website, you can go to thesweettalk.com. That's the SUITE talk.com. And on the homepage will be the latest episode. So this episode will be on the homepage, as well as some information about the new Stepping Up to Google Classroom book that Alice Keeler and I wrote. It's all about 50 steps for beginners to get started. And it's available on Amazon as well. Some of the podcast episodes will be here as well, because this will be uploaded into Podbean. If you would like to be a guest on my show, please fill out this guest inquiry form, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. I am scheduling right now for October. If you would like to support my mission to pay it forward, you can become a sponsor of my show. Just please fill out this form here, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. I'm actually really, I'm really thankful. I got 3 sponsors, Eric. I got
That's awesome.
Slides Mania, Screencastify, and Cami. I'm really thankful for that. So, yeah,
and all great people to be sponsoring you. Love all 3 of them.
Yeah. So I again, like, paying it forward. I just feel really thankful for their backing. So on the episode page, if you go to the episode page and go down to the list, you should find, let's see if I could find it, the episode of when Eric was on my show and talking about digital wellness. And here it is. So it's number 44. He was on my show on September 9th, 2019. Digital well-being, finding balance between technology and life. And this really, there's the show notes here and the YouTube recording. And really, Eric goes over practical ways of finding that balance. So I would highly recommend checking that out. If you would like, and if anybody is using Jamboard out there, please check out my Jamboard page. I do have a lot of resources here on Jamboard and how you can use it in the classroom. This is my presentation here on Get on the Jamboard Train. And if you have been using it, please fill out this form and share your idea on how you've been using Jamboard, and I will make it available in my Idea Board for Jamboard resource, which gives a lot of different ways of using Jamboard. And I know Jamboard's been a big app that people are using now, so please pay it forward and share your idea. And you can also join the Facebook community, the Sweet Talk, subscribe to my YouTube channel, subscribe to my newsletter, check out the Sweet Talk on Podbean, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and Google Podcasts as well. And that really concludes our show for tonight. So with that being said, I really want to thank you, Eric, for being on. I'm a true fan. You know, you're like a mentor.
I don't have fans. I have friends. You have to be my friend.
You have a friend here in South Jersey. So yeah, I really thankful that you took the time to be on. I really wanted to give you a big shout out about your book, Ctrl Alt Achieve. It's a really great book. Please check it out. It's really designed well, and like I said, it's written so that anybody can understand and implement the lessons and the ideas. So it's a great resource to have in your tech tool belt.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It has been an absolute pleasure.
All right, everyone. Thank you for tuning in, and I will see you next time. Have a great evening. Bye.